you, Sky? Hey, thanks for being here. Great to see you. Please, here, please have a seat. You can just. Are they sitting or standing?
Yeah, you guys can stay.
Okay. What's going on, my friend? Hey, man, how's it going? Good to see you. Hey.
That's all I was looking for.
All right.
Used to be nice.
Good, how are you? Good to see you. I took it off for this.
Okay.
Come on, be careful.
I'm Commissioner Brooks.
Jeff Yarborough.
State Representative.
So nice to see you.
Okay, I think we're probably ready. Let's go ahead and get started here. So one of the things that we've heard in some of the past interactions with the public and the press is that they want to hear more about the lawsuit and they would like more transparency. And so in an effort to do both, we have invited all of the plaintiffs in the lawsuit to attend today. In addition, we've asked our lawyers to come to town to also to be available and to answer questions. Before we get to that, I do want to make some preliminary comments around some of the activity that's occurring at the Criminal Justice Complex, the Bailey Justice Center, because we've also received a lot of questions around how do we quantify the surge in activity that's occurring as a result of some of the federal agencies that have been deployed along with the National Guard. With respect to that, we want to just put up a few slides. We'll also hand out hard copies of this information to anyone that would like to receive it. So with respect to that, let's go to the first slide. And so if you look at the first slide is just the activity in terms of bookings and bail settings at the facility for one of the most recent weeks. We'll try to regularly provide and update this information for as long as this continues. But as you can see, this is the 41st week of the month of October compared to the 41st week in 2024, compared to the 41st week in 2023. And so for the 41st week of 2025, we've seen a doubling of activity with respect to each one of the categories that's under investigation right now. So that's the bookings, and those are the bail settings. Let's go to the next slide. At the same time, we've also taken an effort to see who is booked at the Criminal Justice Center. How many of the individuals that are booked there are misdemeanors versus folks that are accused of committing a felony. And as you can see there, the same sort of trend continues to apply, that we have seen a surge in the number of those numbers as well. The only thing I would point out there, and I'll leave the interpretation to all of you, the only thing I would point out there is that we've seen a dramatic increase in the number of folks that have been booked, that is to say arrested, for misdemeanor offenses. And let's keep going. And here we have an effort to just show you across several recent weeks. So this is the last 3 weeks of both bookings and bail settings at the Criminal Justice Center in Shelby County. This is the last 3 weeks. You can see for yourself. It's held relatively steady. Again, that information will also be delivered in hard form, and so you'll be able to see it for yourself. Okay, I think at this time, we're gonna go to our speakers, and then after that, we'll have an opportunity for question and answer. The goal is to try to keep this as condensed as possible, to 30 minutes or less. So the first speaker I want to welcome from Washington, D.C., I believe, is Sky Perryman. Sky Perryman is the president and CEO of Democracy Forward, a nonpartisan institution. It is a national legal organization that promotes democracy and progress through litigation, regulatory engagement, and research. Ms. Perryman's leadership has expanded the scope of the work of Democracy Forward and helped that institution emerge as a nationally recognized organization that is taking on the most significant issues affecting people and families and communities. She graduated from Baylor University and got her law degree from Georgetown University Law Center. So at this time, I'd like to invite Sky to make such preliminary remarks as she might want to make, and then as I say, she will be around for our question and answer period. All right, so with that, Sky.
Thank you for having me. My name is Sky Perryman. I'm the president and CEO of Democracy Forward, and the lawyers that work at our organization have the privilege and honor of representing the clients here today who are challenging the National Guard deployment here in Memphis. What is happening in Memphis is a threat to the American people. It is a threat to the people in Memphis. What is happening in Memphis is not just happening in Memphis. Across this country, we have seen in places like Los Angeles, Portland, Chicago, the militarization of our cities. For centuries in this country, we have known, and it has been the law, that the military is not to be used in our cities for domestic purposes. But yet that is what we are seeing in Memphis and around the cities. Around this country and what is happening here in this community in Memphis is part of a rapidly accelerating autocratic playbook that is seeking to normalize the presence of military personnel in our communities here domestically. It is a threat not to just communities here in Memphis, but it is a threat to every single American that holds dear the notion that we are a democracy, that we are a government and a society of, by, and for the people, not of, by, and for leaders that would seek to wield their power in ways that are unconstitutional and unlawful. We believe, and our team has filed a lawsuit on behalf of the clients here, along with our co-counsel here in Memphis. We believe that the Tennessee Constitution is incredibly clear, and that the governor does not have the authority to aid and abet President Trump's agenda of militarizing our cities, including here in Memphis and in Shelby County. So thank you for having me here today. I know that we will be happy to answer your questions, but do know that what is happening in this community is not just a local issue. It is also a national issue and a global issue. It is about the American people, it is about this democracy, and it is about where we are in 2025 today.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to also invite to the podium one of the lead attorneys for the plaintiffs in the lawsuit, Yanise Rodriguez. Ms. Rodriguez is the senior counsel at Democracy Forward. She brings a record of advancing civil rights and equity through courtroom advocacy and policy leadership. She's led interdisciplinary teams at the NAACP Legal Defense Fund to promote economic justice, voting rights, and challenges to systematic inequities. As a senior trial attorney in the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division, she investigated and litigated landmark fair housing and lending cases across the nation. She graduated from Yale Law School and the University of Chicago. With that, Ms. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. If you'll forgive me, I will translate some of my comments in Spanish for the purpose of inclusivity to also speak directly to the communities most affected by the militarization of Memphis. And with that, my name is Yanise Rodriguez, and I serve as senior counsel at Democracy Forward. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Yanise Rodriguez y soy una abogada de litigio en la organización Democracy Forward. I am so proud to be here with this incredibly powerful coalition and with my esteemed colleague and leader and mentor, Ms. Sky Perryman. I know we want to get to the Q&A, and I don't have a lot to add besides what the mayor and Sky have already mentioned, but I do want to share a little more about how we got here. We are here because something unprecedented and deeply unlawful is happening in Memphis. Armed soldiers are patrolling the neighborhoods under an order that violates the Tennessee Constitution and Tennessee state law. This case, very simply, is about protecting Memphis, defending the state constitution, and making clear that no leader can use military power to intimidate, to silence the people they are supposed to be serving. These are incredibly scary times to be a brown or black person in this country. In this climate, people are being judged not by their values or their actions or performance, but by the color of their skin and the languages we speak. At Democracy Forward, we are defending houses of worship, against ICE raids, protecting people from being arrested just for showing up to pre-scheduled court hearings before judges have asked them to appear, blocking unaccompanied migrant children from being detained in the government when there are families readily and willingly and lovingly available to care for them, and fighting against efforts to target people of color using information they willingly submitted to the Social Security Administration as part of their effort to participate in civil society. Today, we are here to defend the Latino and Black communities in Memphis from their own governor, who has responded to the president's calls to do what he cannot do, which is weaponize our troops against their neighbors. But it turns out that's unlawful too, and that's why we're all here together today. Son tiempos aterradores para ser latino o una persona de color en los Estados Unidos, en un clima donde se juzga a la persona no por sus valores, acciones o desempeño, sino por el color de nuestra piel y el idioma que hablamos. En la organización Democracy Forward defendemos nuestras iglesias contra las redadas de ICE, protegemos a las personas de ser arrestadas solamente por presentarse en el tribunal para una audiencia apuntada con un juez, impedimos que los niños migrantes no acompañados sean detenidos por el gobierno cuando hay familia lista para cuidarlos, y luchamos contra los esfuerzos para atacar a las personas de color, utilizando información voluntariamente presentada a la Administración del Seguro Social como parte de un esfuerzo de participar en la vida civil. Hoy estamos aquí para defender a las comunidades de colores en Memphis contra su propio gobernador, quien ha respondido a las llamadas del presidente de esta nación para hacer lo que no puede hacer, que es usar nuestras tropas como armas contra sus vecinos. Por resultado que eso también es ilegal, y por eso estamos aquí juntos hoy. Without much more, this coalition is powerful because it reflects every level of elected leadership: local and state, city councils, county commissions, and the state legislature. This case is led by the people who know Memphis best, its elected officials. But we didn't build it alone. We are proud to be alongside our partners at the National Immigration Law Center and Sherrard, Rowe, Voigt, and Harbison. We are also building this coalition with Memphis for All and our community partners in Free the 901. The Constitution is clear: no rebellion, no invasion, no deployment. State statutes are clear: no deployment unless local government requests it or the legislator approves it. For more than 150 years, Tennessee has rejected the use of military forces to police its own civilians. This isn't a gray area or a partisan policy disagreement. This is a direct violation of the state constitution. Our clients have the responsibility to challenge it, and we are honored to be here with them in that challenge. Thank you.
All right, absolutely. All right, at this time, I'd like to invite up to the podium my partner in crime for many years in the state Senate, Jeff Yarborough. And let me say by way of introduction, Jeff Yarborough is the Tennessee State Senator for District 21 and a litigator at Bass, Berry, Sam's. He's a native of West Tennessee, Dyersburg, Tennessee. He received his BA from Harvard University and graduated from University of Virginia School of Law. At the State House, Senator Yarborough has focused on government transparency and simplifying government systems for residents, including increasing the level of voter registration. With that, Senator Yarborough.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my pleasure to join my old seatmate in the Senate, Mayor Harris, here today to talk about this, because this is a deeply serious issue of historic proportions. It just is. And there's been a lot of talk about restoring law and order. You can't restore law and order if you're ignoring the law part. And what's happening right now is that the governor and the state of Tennessee are ignoring the law. And it's quite simple. That's not my opinion. That's not a Democratic opinion. That was the opinion of the Republican Attorney General of the state, that was issued 4 years ago and then ratified by the current Republican Attorney General of the state just last year. It's also not even a close call. In 1870, we had a constitutional convention in Tennessee. It discussed very few issues. One of the only decisions that they made at that convention was ensuring that the troops couldn't be used to police civilians. And they also ensured that the governor would not have the unilateral ability to deploy those troops. But what's happening right now is we have a unilateral deployment of the National Guard to police citizens. And it just couldn't be more illegal, and it violates the clear terms of the statute, the clear terms of the Constitution, and the clear opinions of the Republican Attorneys General from 2021 and 2024. And so this is a bigger issue that obviously Memphis is facing this right now, but it's a bigger issue than that because it does speak to the Constitution of the whole state, and it frankly speaks to the increasing militarization of policing across the country, which we know is the reason it is such a story. The reason that none of us are used to it is that we have had laws on the books for more than a century and a half to prevent exactly what's happening right now. We all want to surge resources to ensure that people are safe in their communities, but we also have to ensure that we're following the law to make sure that we're not abusing power. And what's happening right now is an abuse of power and a clearly lawless act by the governor, and that's what we're trying to address.
So we have 6 of the 7 plaintiffs here today, and they are Councilman J.B. Smiley, Commissioner Henry Brooks, Jeff Yarbrough, Representative Gabby Salinas, and Representative J.A. Hardaway. And so if any of them would like to make a comment, a brief comment, I think we'd be glad to receive it. Would any of the additional plaintiffs like to make a comment? Okay.
I think the attorneys did an amazing job speaking specifically to the issues. I'm not going to address the issues today. I'm speak to the people of Memphis. I had the honor to go and dine in a restaurant in Memphis yesterday, and as I was leaving that particular restaurant, I had a conversation with a particular person, and their question for me was, why fight? When they've already controlled the courts, when they've turned back long-standing precedent before, why are we in this fight? And I had to sit with it for a moment, and as I thought through that particular question, I always go back to where it began for me. I'm a lawyer by trade. I'm someone who's duly elected to represent the people of Memphis, but I'm not someone that's willing to bow down just because folks say the road is going to be difficult. And I think that mindset to bowing down to people who misuse their power is the wrong mindset, because we as a people have not been able to receive or were given any rights without us folks being willing to stand in and say, you know what, this is wrong, we're gonna fight the good fight. What my plea to the people of Memphis is this: join us. Talk about what's happening in the city of Memphis. We have to be willing to fight the good fight. If we do not, our democracy will be no more. We will no longer have the ability to govern ourselves. Stand with us and keep us in your prayers. We're gonna fight this fight.
Anyone else?
I am one of the very few legislators that is a naturalized citizen. So I spent a lot of time studying for my citizenship exam. And I learned about checks and balances, and the power of the courts, and the power of the executive branch, and the power of the legislature. And I've been so fortunate to be at the legislature this year and see and get to serve the people of District 96, but also see firsthand what I studied, what it meant to be an American, be challenged. And when I've gotten a front row seat. So democracy is not gonna uphold itself. If the legislature does not do its job to check the power of the executive branch, we will not have a healthy democracy. So our fight is not only for Memphis, it's not only for Tennessee, but it's for all Americans. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we'll take questions.
Mayor, and to the attorneys, what happens if the legislature is not in session when the guard is deployed? And was there a vote of the legislature when the guard was deployed in 1968 and 1970?
So as to your first question, that was the exact question that was raised in opposition to the constitutional provision that was adopted in 1870. Somebody said, we shouldn't adopt this provision because it will be too hard to call the legislature back into session. The response was, that's not true. The legislature can be called back into session, and that's the provision that was adopted. So the historic calling up of the Guard has proceeded on several different fronts, but has always tried to adhere to that avoidance of being in the policing of citizens, the law enforcement. And so, and has been done at the request of local governments trying to maintain order if done on short and emergency bases.
I'll just add that according to the state constitution and state law, there are no carve-outs for difficult circumstances to adhere to the responsibility the governor had to involve elected officials in this situation. And in fact, the only circumstances that are relevant rise to the level of things like rebellion, invasion, and that was not present here. So there's no carve-out on which to hide behind under the law. Thank you.
We've seen the National Guard downtown, midtown. We haven't really seen them actively doing anything. Do you all know what specific mission or role that they are tasked with?
I don't know that I'm prepared to answer that. The only information I've received most recently from a variety of sources suggests that the National Guard's numbers have gone up pretty significantly over the last week. That last week it was 64 National Guard is what was reported to me, and this week it was reported 159 National Guardsmen in Shelby County. So I think that's a great question to take to the governor, the adjutant general for the National Guard to see what the current mission is. But again, lots of the rhetoric suggests that it is, as has been said, to execute laws and to police the citizens of Memphis and Shelby County. Other comments?
I would just note nationally what we know is we have seen no data or evidence suggesting that any deployment of any guard in any city has made the people of the city, the communities of the city, or the city itself safer in any way. So I just would put that national gloss across both what's happening here, but also in all of the cities and states across the country.
And if I might add from the city standpoint, what I do know is the administration is currently reaching out to council members to figure out where they want the National Guard to go. And I want to be clear, I want them out of our city.
Other questions?
Let me speak to that if I could, Mayor. Sure. And that's an excellent question. The problem is that we being our state legislators, we haven't had the opportunity to debate any of the issues around the National Guard. We should be the ones setting the oversight, efficiencies, effectiveness of their mission. We don't know what the plan is. We don't know what the budget is. We don't know if there's a strategic plan. I'm more alarmed than ever hearing the governor state that they could be here forever. That's alarming. So civilian policing is not their job. We have a post-commission, peace officers, standards and training, who are state agency, who are charged with developing and educating and holding accountable those who do civilian policing. They're not part of our civilian police force. The law is clear, and the governor is breaking the supreme law of Tennessee, the Constitution.
Plaintiffs from every legislative and executive body from state and local government except for one here. Earlier this week, Mayor Harris, you said that the city of Memphis didn't have an opportunity to sign on to it. You guys didn't ask them to. Why was that? Does that affect
I don't have any comment about the city of Memphis signing on or not signing on, but if you want to make a comment about standing.
Thank you for your question, and thank you for the opportunity to answer the question. We have been working closely with the coalition here in Memphis to assemble the necessary parties. We believe we have the appropriate parties to adjudicate the issues and seek the relief that's needed here, and we welcome any of those who are interested in participating in our lawsuit moving forward.
Just speaking with people who live in Memphis, residents, some of them have asked me, why don't they try to get the other federal agencies out of Memphis? This surge, why are we just focusing on the National Guard? What legal standard or what is preventing someone from suing and saying, hey, let's get all these extra ICE agents or Department of Homeland Security agents out of here?
Thank you. Also an incredibly important question. Our lawsuit, and I, as a representative of the lawsuit, we know there are many issues here, and there's many ways to tackle them. That's just simply not our lawsuit. We pursued the claims that we thought we could at this moment, and we are definitely committed and working on with all our coalition partners, both locally and nationally, to figure out what other issues we can tackle.
The TRO was already denied.
Just stay up there
you guys-
if you want.
Sorry
If it's
to-
about the TRO.
I'm getting my steps in, and I appreciate it.
TRO was already denied. That came pretty quickly. Reading the order, it seems fairly procedural, but are there any concerns that with how quickly that was denied, that your lawsuit might already have kind of this bad first impression of the judge in Nashville?
Thank you for that excellent question. We've been hearing this question a lot, so it's a real honor to be able to answer it here. To be quite honest, it would be quite extraordinary for a judge to enjoin the governor and the attorney general of its state without hearing from them. The litigation before us is on the temporary injunction. We see that and view that as the heart of our case. We were being very ambitious with the TRO, given our plaintiffs and the fear in Memphis, but we believe that would have been an extraordinary action. Let me be very clear about that. And we really look forward to be hearing on the meat of our case, a temporary injunction on November 4th, which is quite soon.
One more question.
And just to round this out, we really do believe the court will be fair in hearing all parties, and we have no concern that a denied TRO, from our experience in many other cases across the country, indicate any weakness in our case or anything about the future of this litigation.
We're in the season of asking questions we never thought we'd have to ask.
Yes, sir.
In the event your suit is successful, who would enforce it?
This is another very good question, and this is something that we would need to work out under the relief of our lawsuit, and something we're thinking very deeply about.
But we can say generally, because I know we are in many of our suits across the country, not just here in Memphis, we're in the spirit of having to ask these questions that Americans should not have to ask. A question about whether the government, whether it is the governor or the president, would follow court orders. And I will just say that we have been able at Democracy Forward to secure compliance from the president and the administration with court orders, and we will continue to pursue that here in those strategies here with the governor.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Do you want to do a
Thanks.
picture all together?
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you.
Hey, Connor, can we get a picture of everybody?